WBZ is your home for the Patriots, and after a rough season, fans are looking forward to a fresh start. And the team is busy as a bunch of new faces are coming to Foxborough. And joining us now to talk about NFL free agency is CBS Sports NFL staff writer Tyler Sullivan. Tyler, great to have you back. And, you know, a lot has changed since you and I spoke last about this New England Patriots team. We obviously have a new head coach in Mike Vrabel, and now a lot of moves made on the roster front. What have you made of the Patriots so far during free agency?
I know. When we talked during the season, it started to get more and more depressing as the Patriots' record started to decrease. Now we're looking at it going, okay, new head coach. They're spending in free agency. We're getting some good news now from the Patriots front. And so, you know, overall, you can't come away from yesterday and the first day of the tampering period not feeling good about where the Patriots are at. Sure, there's still some things that need to be filled, and we'll discuss it. But overall, it's hard not to like what the Patriots are doing. Clearly, there's been an emphasis from Mike Vrabel to bolster the defense. Now, we all thought possibly offense needs some boosting, and it does, and we'll talk about it. But overall, clearly, we're seeing a team that's putting an emphasis on having a top 10, or at least trying to have a top 10 defense in the NFL, and they're spending like it. Bringing in the linebacker Robert Spillane, of course, making the big splash for Milton Williams. You get Carlton Davis in the secondary. They're really putting an emphasis on the defensive side of the ball, which I think is really interesting.
All right, so let's focus on that part first, Tyler, and let's hit on that top name you just saw on our graphic in defensive tackle Milton Williams, because he's given the richest contract in franchise history with an annual value of $26 million per year. How much of a game changer can he be for the Patriots on defense?
Yeah, you talk about the richest contract in Patriots history. Then you look at reported guaranteed dollars. He's right up there with Chris Jones in Kansas City. So you're hoping, if you're paying for it, to have that type of an impact. Of course, Chris Jones routinely being one of the best interior pass rushers in the NFL. That's what you're hoping you're getting with Milton Williams. You saw 2 sacks in the Super Bowl. You saw firsthand on the highest stage what he's capable of with the Philadelphia Eagles. You're hoping he can bring that to the Patriots defensive interior. It makes sense from a lot of different angles. Of course, one of them being the uncertainty around Christian Barmore. You signed him to a big contract last year, but he's been dealing with the blood clots. You just don't know what his status is going to be going forward. If he's healthy and you have both of those two available, boy, that is an impressive defensive interior. But just looking at it from a Milton Williams standpoint, he is someone that should help this Patriots defense tremendously. One of the areas where they struggled mightily last season was really going after the quarterback, pressuring the quarterback. 4th lowest pressure rate in the NFL last season, 3rd fewest pressures, dead last in sacks. So you're hoping that Milton Williams can come in, provide that pressure on the defensive interior, which also will help guys off the edge also apply pressure onto the quarterback.
A couple of other signings to hit on with you as well. Linebacker Harold Landry, he signs for 3 years, $43 million. And then linebacker Robert Spillane, he signs for 3 years, $37.5 million. And Tyler, what both of those guys have in common is that they played under Mike Vrabel at one point in their careers. So why do you think Mike Vrabel wanted to work with each of these two guys again?
Yeah, so I think part of it is kind of what you're alluding to, right? That there's a history with Mike Vrabel. There's a history with a lot of these guys in terms of the coaching staff. Milton Williams is kind of the only outlier here when we're talking about the relationships. He's just the big splash. But all those other signings, there's a connection, whether it's the Josh McDaniels, someone else on the coaching staff, or Mike Vrabel when he was the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. And so when we're specifically talking about Harold Landry, I think that he's someone who has shown you that he has the capabilities of having double-digit sack seasons. Now let's see if he can bring that level, return to that level as he goes to the New England Patriots. A clear need, as I just referenced, trying to pressure the quarterback, something they weren't able to do last season. You're hoping that Landry can bring that off the edge for the Patriots in 2025 and beyond. And then Robert Spillane, you watched the Raiders last season. You know, a lot of people might not have. They weren't that good either. They were right there with the New England Patriots. But overall, he was someone that stood out in terms of making impact plays on the defense. And 150 plus tackles last year, a career high. He's someone that should be a fan favorite by the end of the season. And overall, again, as you referenced, there's a connection between Mike Vrabel and these players. And as he steps into being the head coach of the New England Patriots, he's trying to establish a culture and bringing players that know his system, know his culture, know what kind of locker room he wants. To me, that's just as important as what they're going to be able to do on the football field. too.
Yeah, so many moves made on that side of the ball. We'll get to the offense in one moment, but I did also want to hit on cornerback Carlton Davis, because you have Christian Gonzalez, and we know what a stud he is, but now you have that number 2 corner in Carlton Davis. Why do you think the Patriots targeted him specifically for that number 2 corner spot?
Well, there's a relationship on the coaching staff as well, coming from the Detroit Lions. So there's that. But also, you want to build on your strengths, right? You don't want to just rest on, okay, well, we have Christian Gonzalez. We'll put him on one side, and then we'll just kind of figure it out on the other side of the secondary. You want to try to be as stout as you can, for a defense that was sneaky not great against the pass last year. I know that, Christian Gonzalez is getting a lot of praise as one of the top young cornerbacks in the NFL, and rightfully so, he is. But this secondary wasn't the best last year. They gave up the 8th highest passer rating to opposing quarterbacks last year. So there's still work to be done here. And now you bring in a guy like Carlton Davis, you have a 1-2 punch in the secondary that's really going to be fascinating. Of course, you have Jonathan Jones hitting free agency as well, so there was a need there. So you try to improve your secondary. And as much as we're going to talk about the offense, what's going to help Drake May a lot in 2025 and beyond is if he has a good defense. If he is going up against, an offense that he's putting up a ton of points and you're just digging yourself in a hole every single time the defense gets on the field, that makes his life a lot more difficult. If he's able to manage the game a little bit more and not being asked to just go throw for throw with an opposing quarterback, that's going to help him just as much as adding weapons or adding offensive linemen.
All right, so let's switch gears to the offense. And I think that's a great point that you make, that if the defense is better, that obviously helps Drake May as well. Now, the Pats did make some moves on the offensive end. They addressed the offensive line. They add a wide receiver in Matt Collins. They also have a backup quarterback now in Josh Dobbs, among the moves that they've made so far. But what do you make of the moves that they have already made on offense here in free agency?
Yeah, I think my favorite one so far is Morgan Moses, the tackle from the New York Jets. He should come in and be your right tackle. I know that a lot of people point to, well, we need a left tackle. I was one that you needed to double dip. This is a position that they've kind of left barren over the last couple of years, trying to make it work with Caden Wallace, Chukwuekorfor over the last couple of years. Just didn't really work. And so now they need to go in, bring in an offensive tackle, preferably 2, and one of them is Morgan Moses, who is, older, 34 years old, veteran guy's been around a long time, but is certainly capable of coming in on day one and being your starting right tackle. That's where he's played for most of his career. So at least you have one of those key spots answered going forward for at least the immediate future. Long term, they still need to identify someone, but now it frees you up to possibly go after somebody on the left tackle side, possibly in the NFL draft. We'll see how that goes. But Morgan Moses is a capable right tackle, so that's a good thing. The other signing that I really like is Matt Collins, the former Buffalo Bills wide receiver. He's not someone that's going to come in and be your number 1 pass catcher. Don't get that confused. But he's someone that could certainly be a capable option for Drake May. He has a history with Josh McDaniels. Actually, his best season in the NFL came with Josh McDaniels in the Las Vegas Raiders. So overall, I think that this is someone who's going to be a good character. If you followed him with the Buffalo Bills, he doesn't wear shoes. He's barefoot pretty much the entire time. He's got big hair. He'll be a fan favorite, but also be productive in this offense, I assume.
All right, so Tyler, what's next for the Patriots in terms of what they need to tackle in free agency here?
Yeah, and I referenced it earlier. They still need a number 1 wide receiver or something close to it, and they need to have an answer at left tackle. If we're looking solely at free agency at the left tackle spot, Cam Robinson's probably the best available left tackle for them. Maybe they wait for the NFL draft and take Will Campbell out of LSU with that number 4 overall pick. Kind of been one of those guys to keep an eye on there. So maybe that's the plan. But overall, left tackle, still a clear need. Maybe they bring in a veteran, but still kind of look at tackle spot for the long term at the NFL draft. The other one, obviously, as I referenced, number 1 wide receiver. And as much as everybody would want, if you were looking for possibly to get DK Metcalf, can't happen. He was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Chris Godwin, he re-signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's still some guys out there. Stephon Diggs coming off the torn ACL, but he's someone, when he's healthy, is a top-tier wide receiver in the NFL. Reports out of Los Angeles indicate that the Rams are going to get rid or release Cooper Kupp if they can't find a trade before the start of the new league year on Wednesday. He would certainly be an option, and I would still pay attention to T. Higgins in Cincinnati. I don't think that he's someone that wants to play on the franchise tag yet again. again, if they can't come to terms on a long-term contract extension, I wonder if things get a little hairy there in Cincinnati and they're kind of forcing, or he may force his way out. So there's still some options there in terms of where they could find that number one wide receiver. It's just not going to be the guys that we hope for. Again, DK Metcalf or Chris Godwin.
There's still some moves that need to be made to continue to see this team climb the ranks in the NFL. But you hit on it at the beginning, Tyler. It's nice to actually talk about this team with some excitement, with some optimism, and I feel like we're finally there, and the Pats already making some moves in free agency. Thank you so much for the time, Tyler. And again, you can catch his writing on CBSSports.com.